In a world where Africans have lost their roots, it has become of vital importance to document our ways. In an effort to reverse the brainwashing of the past, where we were made to believe our ways are demonic, we are pressed to create dignified and respectful platforms to unpack our spiritual ways.
Moya light, Moya bright, Moya nice, guys. We're doing so well, and you guys are supporting us, and we're on a roll. You're just not liking, guys. Please do like and do watch the adverts, because the adverts are the way we get paid, and if we get paid, then we give you more episodes. So you understand the relationship. So the bank details should be on screen now. Thank you for always supporting us continuously. You know that every 21st of the month, we have our African Calendar series with GOGO MOKGADI, where we go through each season. And those of us who have started the program with us, it's going so well, because now we know how to align ourselves. Right now, we're in the blue season, and we are very mental and working hard. So it's helping us. But what we learned during that time is that we actually need to learn the African creation story so that everything makes sense to us in those sessions. So she's been so gracious with her time. We're having an official episode. I can't wait, because The Lion King is my favorite movie in the world. Whoa, so I was ready, even yesterday as I was getting ready, I was like, okay, we're gonna learn about The Lion King.
Yeah, that's only just a portion of the creation story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Queen, for having me yet again. And yeah, The Lion King is only but a fraction of the story. So we're gonna try to go into depth a little bit, but also not, because it is a big chunk of the whole calendar, and we are pacing it by season and season. So we're just gonna take it a little bit. So I'm gonna be a bit cognizant of the time, and we can take it from there. So before we start the creation story, I just want us to be cognizant of the universal mind. I think now we are woke enough now to understand the beginning of things, right? So there is something called the universal mind, which translates to us as Africans as Mudimo, the supreme, right? And then we have the level of the spirit, and then humanity, the physical, the tangible, the carnal life now, right? So when we're speaking of creation in its entirety, we need to be cognizant of these three life streams, right? So we have the Neteru, which we explained when we started the series, which is the Netas or Necheru, if you want to be more accurate in the Medu Nature. And Medu Nature just basically means the divine language. So that is the level of the gods, that's the live stream of the gods or divine principles. And then we have the second level, which we call the Akiu level, which is the spirit of nature now. So things that you see in spirit, and also the ascended souls of those who have departed. And then the third level is the Ankiu. So the Ankh part of the word would denote to life, like we do when we're wearing our Ankhs here. So this is the human level, the physical manifestation of stuff. So also when we're speaking of the African creation story, because people would want to accuse us of, why do you guys want to gatekeep this thing? So this goes down to how we always say, Africa is the motherland, right? So with that, and if you are living, I guess now, if you're carnal now, you understand that the mother is the beginning of all things. So that is why we're sourcing our stories from Africa, from the African perspective. So that's why we're going to call it the African creation story. But then now there's other scholars who are on some, but where you guys are starting is not where it's starting, So we have the great Sanusi Okeromuta, who has his rendition of the creation story, where he includes the corruption that also happened that landed us here as a people, because we actually used to talk in frequencies, and as opposed to language, when we say, no, the vibe is off. So that was our way of communication, because we are divinity, even though we are the micro of the macro picture of divinity. So with myths and mythology and all these stories, this is just to answer these questions that we always have. Who is God? We still don't have an answer. We're still trying to figure out who is God, where did life begin? Where did creation begin? So we're going to take it from a Kemetic point of view, because this is the series that we do when we're together. We're going to take it from there, even though we're cognizant that there is civilization that predates Kemet, And yeah, Kemet as it stands today, we are finding it very hard to attach to us as a people. But actually, we have before Kemet with civilizations that happened before that, those birthed life to Kemet and a group of great ancients and a combination of different kingdoms where it was called Bona Bakhulu Basekemu. So that is why we're going to take it from that angle. And this is the closest to what we speak today. So from our dialects that we speak, the languages that we speak, how I can understand, maybe as a Pedi person, I can sort of hear, no man, this Venda word is sort of close to mine, So us as a Bantu people and the Nilotic people, we're going to trace the origins and the African creation story from there. And also your favorite, The Lion King, is based actually on the Kemetic, ancient Kemetic creation story. So that is why we're going to source it from there, to not be accused that the Zeptepi does not begin there, but with the great ancients, Bonabakhulu Base Kemet, they were referred to as the followers of Horus, which is Heru, which is the season that we're gonna be going into next. So the followers of light, the followers of the sun, which is the life source that we've spoken about when we started our series. So when we're speaking creation story, because creation itself, the world of creation, is mirrored nicely in nature. So it is continuous, it is unending, and it is that link between the spiritual realm as well as this physical realm that we are in. So that is why when we're speaking of, I don't know if you know this cartoon, Captain Planet, Earth, fire, wind, air.
Yeah.
And also in spiritual spaces, when you are doing any rituals, they always say, you must include the 4 elements of life. And also in nature and everything else, we have the 4 elements, the water, the fire, the air, and the earth element. But with our creation story, where it starts actually, it starts in from the south. Remember when we started, actually the last time I saw you in studio, we said south actually means the origins. All right, so this is the beginning. This is Yona, the Zeptepi, where life begins. And because we are so diverse as Africans, so there's different creation stories, but when you narrow it down and you see the commonality of it, it will always source back to water. Whatever stories or fables that wanna tell, but it would always go the water form, without including the supreme, but the element of water, that is where it begins. So this world of water, this initial phase of water, we call it Manu. All right, so Manu, in our languages, that is Meti or Amanzi and different other things that they call it all across Africa, So with Medu Nature, this divine language as well, there's people who actually do linguistics. Maybe I must hook you up with this gentleman who's gonna also trace back to know this Bantu word, Meshoganje, is actually from this divine language, Eshoganje. So this horizon of water is called, that's the first stage where life begins. And this is now a body of water where, if you are privileged like me, you've had like a religious background. So it is, it becomes 2 sides of a sword, right? Whereas, I could have skipped this, but it helps us understand now when we're speaking the creation story now from an enlightened point of view. So in the beginning was just water. A whole body of water, no form, no shape, nothing like that, and it's just in darkness, right? And from that water itself, this is now where everything is contained. All possibilities are contained. And when we're looking at our Kemetic history, this is governed now by a group of 8 gods, right? So I'll just mention them briefly. We're not going to go into all the gods. But this is where you can see also duality that is practiced, which is a universal principle, So even though it's not an absolute 1, it's not an absolute 0, but everything happens in pairs when we speak in creation. So we have the first one, Ginut and Nunet, the counterpart. We have Her and Hehet, we have Cook and Cookette, we have Jehud, we have Jehud and Ma'at. So we're going to take from this 8 group, the Ogdad, we're going to take from Noon, we're going to take Jehut and Ma'at, because this forms the conversation that we're speaking about. And I think people are a bit more familiar with those ones. So Noon itself, from Medu nature, when you see the word NU, this would always denote water. So when you see, so Manu as well, it means the body of water, the horizon of water. And this is Ukulukulwan. I don't know if you've heard this term before, but this is the great waters of abyss, the unending waters, the waters that have no source, have no ending. So this is where actual life begins, and I always mention how water, in the 4 elements, water is the only element that can embody all the other elements, so it is source of everything else. So from that water itself, from these 8 gods, there's also now a triad of gods in creation. So in that creation, we have the solar triad. So solar would denote to the sun. And in the solar triad, we have Ura, we have Osobdet, we also have the third one, which I can't think of now, but we're going to focus on Ra. So Ra, this would be where Ramasedi would come from. So this would be the ball of energy that maybe from a science point of view, they say, okay, if you're a round earther, because we have round earthers and the flat earthers, if you're a round earther, there's that lava in the center of the earth, where this is now this ball of fire that would emerge now from the waters, all right? So then Ura now helps us transition into the next phase. So also let's be cognizant. I said my south is at top here. So, and when we look at the regular or the westernized compass, we'd have our north from here. So we'd have north, east, southwest, which goes in a clockwise direction. But when we trace it back, actually the origins, south, like I'm saying, south means the origin. So it starts with the south, and then we go now to the next house, which is the east now. So in the next house, this is the house of fire, or it's called the horizon of illumination, right? So this is where now, so it is preceded by Ra, it's about to emerge now from the waters. So with this one, we call it Akut. So this horizon, the luminous of horizon, and the gods that are governing this, so there is 2 groups here of 2 families. So we have the first group of Memphis, which is Ptah. Those who have delved in the Egypt theories would know Ptah. We have Nefertum, we have Sekhmet Bast. So also, Sekhmet Bast, we're going to go into Sekhmet Bast later on in the year, but this is the fiery element, so if you want to remember all these principles. So Ptah is the thoughts that are, remember I said in the water, this is where all possibilities are available, okay, what can be created here? So those possibilities exist in the water, and then now when we come to Ptah, now it becomes fabricated in thought now, okay, now this is what's going to be created, but it's still not yet manifest. So now this ball of energy is coming from the waters, and the second stage, this is where the purification happens. This is where now, okay, we're gonna be working together, bringing all these things now, and we're gonna bring these thoughts to life. So when we go back to that phase again, where I said we're just gonna touch on Jehuti and Umaati. So Jehuti we touched on about 2 seasons back. I think during December, boss, yes. So it touched on Jehuti, and we spoke that Jehuti is the spoken word, and in creation, like I'm saying that if you're familiar, if you've been in religious spaces, there's that thing where, and then the word, in the beginning was the word, right? So this is the Jehuti element, and then Ma'ati, who is Ma'at, the one who provides the structure, the order, and everything, how the measurements, and this one is going to be this color. So this is the consort to Jehuti. So Jehuti is the word behind it and the thoughts behind it, and this is what's going to be fathomed, and then Ma'ati creates the structure. So Ma'ati also, in this whole cycle, is present. So from the water all the way through to all the elements, and Ma'ati governs also these 42 energy principles that we're going to be speaking about, even though Ma'ati by herself is a principle, order, harmony, balance. But we needed Ma'ati for those to be able to manifest as well. Okay, you're going to appear in such a manner, you're going to manifest in such a manner. So Ma'ati, when we're going through, if I'm going to be mentioning her in this, it's just because she's the one that provided the structure. So while on this fiery element part now, so this is the lava now, it's emerging, it's being purified, and this is now where we get Mveli Nqangi coming now from the waters, the one who appeared first, Mveli Nqangi, Ramasedi or Hlahileng Pele from the waters, right? The great waters of abyss. And in that, and for Ramasedi to appear, or Mveli Nqangi to appear from that noon, this great waters of abyss had to have some sort of stirring motion, So the water starts stirring, and then there's this motion, and then wa rise now. And then these two walls, these are on the macro scale of things. So this is the spiritual manifestation of creation, of the creation cycle. Then we get into a third phase of creation. This is the world, earth now. This is where physical manifestation would happen now. So we call this the realm of the spirits. So this is the horizon of the spirits, where you and I now are manifest. You and I are also the trees that you see here, the animals that you see here. And with other mythologies from, let's say, Congo or maybe in Zimbabwe, so they would skip certain parts, and this is where now the emergence of the leopards that were produced, the serpents, the reptilian, so life form would happen now in the third phase, earth, the element of earth here. And we have also families here, the gods. So we have 11 on this stage here. So we have the 9, which we are familiar with, which is the ones that we deal with when we're speaking of our calendar. So at the top governing, so we're going to speak of the Ennead first, which is the group of 9. So we have Atum at the top here. So Atum is the one where now with the other stories, they would say, no, uye wahlanza, or they would ejaculate. I don't know, can I use that word? It is an English word.
It is an English word.
Vibrational. So this is where now Atum would birth all the other 9 here. So Atum gives birth. So let me touch on Atum actually before we give a birth to the things that they give birth to. So Atum, this would be now this bastardized version of what science would call the atom. And if you go to the book called Black Root Science, this is where now they explain that, no, this is the smallest form of creation, So they trace it back, even though you'd get, Libab Creator also mentions how, no, we are from the stars. So I want us also to keep at the back of our minds that, remember, we have as above, so as below. So the waters, and I think we touched a little bit on it, that no, the sky is also another form of the water. Sky goddess Unut, right? This would be reflection. This would be noon, but in the sky now. So now when we are here, the Korastao, which is the earth element, there's Atum there on top, where science would be atom, even though the atom, inside the atom, you'd find the electron, the proton, and the neutron, where with us as a melanated people, that's where carbon would come from. So on the periodic table, atom, and in science, atom is the initial thing, the beginning of things. And then we go into religion. In religion, this would be where Adam was from. Adam, or the first man, So with the Western way of things, why I wanted to also mention the other stories from other parts of Africa. So we would always, if it doesn't have an influence of the patriarchy from the West, they would always relate it to everything comes from the divine feminine, which is Unun too, right? And when we come now to Atum, so the story of Eve is from the rib, so it's actually the other way around, where now the water, which is the divine feminine, is the one that birthed life. So we have Atum as the god, or Wapeli, who created everything now. So Adum now births Shu and Tefnut, who are consorts. So they are the mother, father, husband, wife, also brother and sister. But this is not a form of incest, but just for us to understand the relationship when we're speaking of the gods and the principles, the divine principles, right? So they birth Shu, which is the air. right? So this air that's able to give shape to everything else. And then utefnut, the moisture, which is also containing, when it rains, we refer to tefnut as well. So this moisture that we see, this moisture that's housed there in the sky, ko nut warona. Nut, reflection ya noon. So the water element is going to be present in almost everything in creation, right? So from Shu and Tefnut, now we birth something that we can relate to as humans now. So we have Ukep and Unut now. So when you go through the ancient texts, they also refer to them as Amadlozi, Wakdala, the old Dlozis. And by Dlozi, we don't mean the departed, but we mean the energies, the energy principle, the everlasting energies of creation. So Ukep, this would be the earth element in the creation, and that is represented by the divine masculine, and then Nut, that's the feminine part of creation. And this is where I think the flat earthers, the spherical earthers, they can combine nicely, because the shape of the world is actually that dome effect that we see created by Ukep there at the bottom, and then Unut. So if you've had the privilege of seeing the dome shape from a chemetic point of view, so you would see there's a male figure there lying at the bottom. So this is the firmament that we have, this thing that grounds us. But why I'm saying the flat earthers, the round earthers, they merge somewhat, because we cannot deny that there's obviously below this level here, see. And this emergence of Ramasedi would come now from the core of what we say is beneath here. So so let's not fight flat earthers and round earthers. Yeah, let's get an understanding. Maybe we're saying the same thing in different ways. So from Gep and Nut now this would birth the five now. So we have Asa, what we call Mudimuntate. We've got Oset, the counterpart. So those who are familiar with Greek mythology, Asa is our Osiris, Oset is Isis. So the mother, the father from that. And then we have Neptet, which is the season that we're currently in now, from December up until January 23rd. And then we have Oset, the consort of that. And then, so they 9 in totality. I think I did count, all 9. Yes, I did count all 9. So from Adum, Tefnut Shu, Tefnut Le Shu, and then Geb, Le Nut, and then Asa Oset, and then Neptet Liset, who's the counterpart. And then we've touched, I think, we shouldn't go into that, being cognizant of the time of the principles and how they function in this. But we're going to speak on Set, when we're taking it to the Lion King story. Okay, so this is where now these principles that we're speaking of, this is just gestation, this is no vegetation, this is the sustenance, the secretion that happens. So this is now this physical realm that we're experiencing now in the third phase of creation, where everything now is manifest, right? And from that, we have another group of 3, where we have Het Heru, which is the house of Heru, and then we have Heru, and then we also have Uihi. And from that, so this is birthed from this whole Asa and Oset union. So remember, Asa and Oset, they combine to make God the child. So if we're thinking Trinity, I get it's God the Father, God the Son, not the colonized one where we don't know Holy Spirit. So God the Father, God the Mother, and then God the Child, and then we have the house of Heru. So this is now this creation that is brought into form now, right? And then we have the fourth group that we're not going to go into, but this is the funerary quartet, right? So it's a group of 4 energies or 4 gods which transition us now into the fourth and the final stage. The fourth and the final stage, this is the air stage. So the funerary group would denote the cyclical way of life, where there is death, there is birth, right? So death is just basically a rebirth, because everything is in continuation. It doesn't just end there, like we've been programmed to think, when you're dead, you're dead, So this fourth group transitions us into now the fourth world, which is the world of air, which is the horizon of the West. So I'm mentioning the West as well. When we're thinking of a day, the sun would rise Mpumalanga, which is in the east, right? And then with Set ko Ntshonalanga, which is the west. And this final phase, this is where now it closes the creation cycle. So it closes and then re-begins the creation cycle. So these two stages, this is the micro to the macro. So remember, the other two exist in the spirit, and then these two ones exist now in the physical. So these ones also have 3 triads. So with the first triad, we have the Tebes triad, where there's Amun, there's Mut, and then there's Khons. So when we go deeper into it, you would see the lunar element to this part of creation. But with Amun, this is now the first breath of life, the first breath in creation. This would be given by Amun, right? This is the God that governs this creation process here. And then Khons now is gonna give animation now to this life, and then also maturity and all of that. And with this maturity principle, we see it with the next triad, Heru'ur, which is Heru the elder, and then we also have Anpu, and we also have Sokar. So when we go into our theory here, and when we think back, so we have in the season that we're in now, where we said Neptet is the one that nurtures Simba in the Lion King. So Simba is being now Uyako combat is being trained. Now you are rising. We're going into ascension now. So that is you being Heru'ur. So this is this phase of this fourth phase. This is where the maturity is happening. Now the growth is happening. Now the transformation is happening. And then when we think Anpu as well, Anpu is the product of Neptet and the offspring of Set Neptet, but yeah, other scholars say actually Set Begabambe Ijaz Lana, so this is not the actual offspring. But to complete the story in this, Anpu was birthed by Neptet. And when we think Anpu, this is now when we go into our hibernation phase now, this would be the god of death, where we would for English being so low vibrational, we'd refer to Anpu as the god of death. But this is where now we go into our spiritual life. So we begin now, Gada Oset season. We're going to start now in March, where now hibernation starts. The sun is now moving from the southern hemisphere and is transitioning back to the northern hemisphere, and we are going into hibernation. So, Gada, the first phase, this is autumn. This is where now, the hibernation is starting, but then when it hits the time Yaga Anpu, the god of death, now we are dying, our flesh self is dying, we're going into our spirit self. Now we're transitioning into spirit self Yarona, right? So this is the god of death, and to not be confused with Usokar, which is now God the Father when he is in hibernation now. So when you go back to the story, there's a place where it's mentioned now, Bamvalele Epoxini O Asa, he's no more operating as the green god, which was the god of renewal, god of new life, god of new beginnings, God New Year, where we as Africans start and celebrated September, where Asa comes. So these principles would show you now, okay, so these are the exact same principles, but this is when they've gone through either ascension or they've gone through some sort of processing, but now we are reattaching now, connecting the carnal life back to spiritual life again. So this completes the process Yarona, creation. So now let us touch back, because we still have a little bit of time. I'm proud of myself, I think we did it. So this would be the whole cycle now. So when it gets back to when we complete it, the phase A now, it goes back into the waters again, and it goes back again, and the cycle is like this. So it's the south, it is the west, then the north, which is the earth part of it, and then the west, Ntshonalanga, where now the cycle of creation gets completed. But now let us delve a little bit into the story of Heru, Asa or Set, Le, Neptet, how they fit into this picture, and why we're saying the Lion King, and to draw the characters from the Lion King as well. So you remember when the Lion King starts, this is where now the sun would emerge now from the horizon. So this is now happening from, okay, it's coming from the waters. Now this is now in the firmament. And you'd see also in animation or when you're a child, when they draw the sun, they literally have, it's either floating on water like this and then it's emerging like this on the sun, you know. And I know you've had the privilege of going to Enzalo Yelanga, where you see how it comes up from the clouds as well. You know, it's got that rising. So look at the Lion King where when the sun rises now, this would be now in depiction of, okay, this is Ra beginning again now. But then at that phase we have still what's the father called again? Mufasa. Mufasa is still alive then, and then Ufa, Simba guidance and all of that. So the Lion King, because it is a movie, they're not gonna tie it nicely in sequence, right? So we have Mufasa and the wife Sarabi there, right? So this has got the father, got the mother. And then when the corruption happens, this is when now Ra Masedi, now when the confinement happens, when Asa now is confined by Set now. So with other scholars, this is the joke where I like making no, maybe Uset bagakwatele u Asa, because now how did his wife now get impregnated by Asa, you know? So other scholars say no, he had an affair with Neptet, and Neptet, this is the sister to Osset. Remember, in other texts as well, they depict them as the twins, you know. So even when Osset, which is Mufasa now, on the Lion King, you see that he drops Mufasa off a cliff like this, right? But now in the story, in the African creation story, he chops up these pieces that Asa all over Africa now. And Osset, Le, Neptet, they go on a quest to go collect these body parts. So now this would be where now, okay, Simba is gone and now he's living with his new homies there, go those lands. And now
Pumbaa and Timon.
yes, Pumbaa and Timon there. And then the lioness, I forgot, Nala goes and fetches him. But then there's that element, yeah, the monkey, right? So this would be the Jehuti in this, but this is the monkey now who now wants you to remember who you are, go back and then go and ascend back to the throne. So when they are putting back, so when Asa le Neptet are collecting these body parts, the Asa, they find all 13 body parts. So that is why also with this content that you're doing, I also refer to it as remembering. We're putting these pieces of ourselves that were spread all over by either colonization, but we've lost who we are as a people. And when we're collecting that, and in that ritual that is formed there, where Osset, Le Neptet are putting back these pieces of Asa and resurrecting Asa again so that he can come into reign. But now he's coming into reign as Uheru. So pre-Heru being born now. So Osset is very sad there that, oh my gosh, my man's gone now and we don't have an offspring or nothing like that. So then because of the presence of Heka, which we didn't get into in one of the phases, yeah, we'll probably get into it when we do our next season. So she's worried there that I don't have an offspring. I don't have an offspring from this person. My person is gone now. How's now, how are we going to be defeating Set? Because now this is the reign of Oscar now. Now everything is in darkness. Everything is in hibernation. Nothing can be rationed, you know, which is surprisingly the counterpart to Set, where she's the one that makes sustenance and everything available in the right portions, right? So in this ritual where they're putting back Asa, because now the phallus is not there, the male reproductive system with it's gonna be able to impregnate or Set is not there. But due to Heka, which is divine magic or sacred science, this is where the principle Neptet would come in. And hopefully you have time on that. So there, when they're invoking and putting Asa back, Neptet, because this is the principle of secretion, so they're able to secrete the semen from Asa without the phallus that is probably eaten by the sharks there, according to different mythologies, but was able to get the secretion of this life-giving semen, and then Osset was impregnated in that way. So that is where Uheru now would come from. And then Unepted also is the one that nurses, and she raises Uheru now in hibernation and away from Set, because Set is going back wild now. It's chaos here, it's corruption, it's, nothing is working, because now they have shifted from what we call Atiwe to the law, the one that keeps the harmony, the law and order, and everything works how it's supposed to work, So there now, Nepted nurtures baby Heru, so that they ascend now to be Uheru Ur, which is also another form of Ura, which is also now linking back to the beginning again. So it is continuous, it is cyclical. So that is where now Simba, now he's grown, now he's taking over, and now he is the king again, and law and order is restored, Ma'at is restored again. And when we see also in our calendar, we know the Set period happens before Ma'ati comes, So I also like touching on how, as Africans, as much as they say, we're not civilized, but actually we're the ones that civilized the entire world. We're the ones that, it's our stories that birthed all these religions. It's our stories that birthed how do things actually work, So this is sacred science. This is advanced intelligence, to try to explain how this world ends, how we're experiencing these seasons. So say it would happen, so this would be the chaos, so this is the time, where Scar is ruling, and then after the calm after the storm would happen now with Ma'at, where restoration would happen. So that binds everything, the creation story, and I hope we did not use terms that
it was very hard. I'll be honest. But in the end, I got the sense that, okay, this is kind of like the Bible, and it would be hard to tell the story of the Bible from beginning to end, because you had a lot of characters that we're not familiar with or what they represent, what they signify. So I think we were expecting and then it starts here, and then this happened.
So we take it on a macro scale, so that we can also keep that line where the forces of creation actually manifest in nature as well. So what you see as the earth, this is where actually earth starts from. What you see as water, the element of water, this is where it comes from. What you see as fire, this is where it comes from. So as much as they have different responsibilities and different things that they need to do, but they need to work interdependently. So they depend on each other. There's no way that there's going to be the phase of air when the phase of fire did not happen. There's no way that earth was going to exist when Ra did not emerge from the water. So we want to take it back now to things that make sense for us as well, And when we're speaking about these Ennead principles, so this would be also how the birth, like the human birth would happen, it takes this whole 9 months. And with this, in this world, and it's just unfortunate we don't have time, but there's principles that govern that. Okay, at this point, the fetus is at this point, So also I want us to think as Unun as the amniotic sac, so the water that covers this earth. So I tried not using terms that we don't understand, but I think those who have been doing the series with us, they understand but we're still pacing.
That's what's helpful with the series. Because at least now we'll be able to come and reference this episode and see who you're talking about. Because I was like, oh my God. Who and what do they represent? Okay, cool.
So different worlds are governed by different gods, but also these gods so there are 42 in total. So there's 10 families. So others that would exist as a triad, others would exist as an Ennead, which is what we have here in the physical world, where from atom, the atum, and also the one thing I forgot to mention, the horizon of the west. So when we say, so why it's also called the end. So when you check the word ament, so we call this phase ament. This now, when you are familiar with religion, we end our prayers by saying amen. So this is where it's from. So that is why it's also the final stage of everything. So we always have reason why we do things as Africans. We don't just do things in J. We don't just name things in J, So etymology of words is also very, very important when we're speaking of this. So I think the takeaway from this, so whenever you see the word NU, it would always denote some sort of water. So that is why our principle here, Nut, has the containment here NU. And when we take it to our Bantu tongues, this would be Untu, or where Abantu would come from. And that is why we can also say, Guti, no, we come from the stars, because Untu is that deity way, that shape of the earth I was talking about. And then they contain the stars, they contain the moon. And then there's also a line that says that, no, Nut, she births the sun, beginning of the day, Besoyal Gwenya at the end of the night. So the sun and the moon and everything travels on her belly, but so some people say we are from the stars, and then other people say from the waters, but it is one and the same thing, because as above, so as below. So the sky is a form of water, and the water itself, Kiki Nun, Ukulukulwani, the great waters in the beginning when there was absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. So the light would represent the sun.
The light, yes. So the light would come now from the waters. So the light itself, it illuminates now from the water. So when in religion they say no, it was just complete darkness.
Yes.
So this illumination, when God now emerges. So this is sun. So that is why also when we say Wuti, should the sun cease to exist, then there's no life, even though the sun itself does not make decisions independently, because they need that balance of the moon as well, and how also the moon controls the tides. The moon controls the waters, how water functions. The moon controls also the time. And in this first creation, where I said all possibilities exist, so the dimensions of time, the dimensions of space, the dimensions of finity and infinity, the dimensions of so everything that would create would be housed there in the waters. So that is why also you have lines. Yeah, we say a lot of things and we're not even cognizant of it, but we have lines that, no, water is the source of life, and how, no, you can just fast, but the minute there's no water, there's other people who've tried, pushing boundaries and all of that, but with the absence of water, nothing can grow, nothing can emerge, in everything that we see, from our trees, from our animals. So that is why also I think more in our spiritual spaces, man, I think, Gogo, if you can get somebody who can enlighten us to let us respect, like when we go to our things, the Tokoza Gogo gang or the Makosi gang, when we go do our things, let us respect the source of life. How are we expecting healing if we're leaving our dirt there, our filth
candles,
there, so clean up, get organic stuff, because this is where Sitola Amandla Corner, where you get also certain churches where they'd want to divorce themselves from maybe African spirituality and say, but denote the power of water, when you go Empopomeni, when it hits the crown chakra, which is where, I thought we'd have time, but the chakra point as well, which is what I like to refer to ka Maati. We have 42 chakra points, which is what governs us, what makes us complete as a, let's say, as a human being. So I know with maybe people who go to Botogoza and Bagqinisa so, and what makes you whole as a person or stable as a person at these chakra points. I know we would link chakra to the Eastern spirituality, but everything literally comes from us. So there's no other civilization, guys, but African civilization. So even though we'd focus on the main 7 and how we'd also, for those who deal with numerology, we'd say, no, 7, get a stable number, and whatnot. But from the chakra all the way down, and with, when I was saying, how about Nisa, they put 11, or the power points, or your power points, or entry point to spirits or whatever it is, maybe Nisa. But whenever you start here, your chakra point, which what I wanted to link our 2 sisters here to our spine. Yeah, we never got to touch with that. So on the spinal cord itself, right? So at the bottom of your spine here, this is where now, when you're raising your Kundalini energy, where you're raising your, to help you now get into realignment. So the one side that flows, the energy that flows, this would be the nape-head side, way to the sister to Osset, and then the other side, when you see that artery, this would be Mudimume, our Oset side. So, and then they travel all the way to the crown chakra self. So everything just ties in together. It's just a bit too hard to understand and to take it in. But yeah, so there's a lot of books. I think we've referred to, if you want an easier read. So a lot of people, if you want the origins of the Bible, get yourself the book of Coming Forth by Day. It's called the Book of the Dead. Because it got bastardized when the Greeks and everybody else came. But for an easier read, get yourself Sacred Magic of Ancient Egypt. So it is also, you need to ask for like a spiritual eye or reread, So it's just a book that just helps you put certain things into perspective, and sometimes when you're reading something else, this would be when you get that spark of also, so that is why we also, with the series that we're doing with you, we trying to get into alignment where we get to this phase that Ubab Credo speaks about, to go to know the metaphysical world was actually a world that we communicated in, we understood things of spirit versus now where we are battling with, how did this happen? But yes, Queen, that is what I have for you.
Thank you so much. It's always so helpful. And we could sit with you for ages. I can't wait till we have the conference and when you can have a class the whole day and we break down all these principles.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, guys, that was that. And remember that we got sessions every 21st of the month at 8 p.m. and at the beginning of each season, so that you can be ready and aligned and know which stones and which colors to align yourself with and what principles to focus on for that month. Thank you so much for joining us. The bank details are on screen. Kamalam Ntsiki wagwa Mazwai. It's been a pleasure.
Who are you when all you were has been diluted by lies and white lines cancelling out all that which has been written of your history? Why do you look at yourself as a mystery? Doesn't the sun shine because you open your eyes? Doesn't the moon stay situated within the same stars your DNA sparkles off? Your spirit knows that surely corner into e off. Buza umoya so you may return to being well off. Because spiritually you are rich, yet your ancestors cry because you are out of reach. But yours is to command all elements while God takes inspiration from the very mirror she looked at to become. Remember who you are and never finish just when they think that with you they are done.